Is Iran ready to bow to the will of the international community and rein in its nuclear ambitions? Those who see the glass half full point to Iran's commitment to open up a newly revealed nuclear site for inspection. Pessimists say Tehran has perfected the art of prevarication. My guest is Ali Asghar Soltanieh, Iran's ambassador to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Ambassador Ali Asghar Soltanieh in Vienna, welcome to Hard Talk.
My pleasure, at your disposal.
Simple first question then. Has Iran's attitude to the IAEA, the world's nuclear watchdog, and indeed to the Security Council, has Iran's attitude changed?
Well, Iran's attitude towards the IAEA has not been changed. This is in fact our policy, which have been sustained.
Okay, so what I get from your first answer is that in your opinion, really nothing much has changed as far as Iran is concerned. But the reason I hit the theme of change from the very beginning is because Mohammed El-Baradei, the head of the IAEA, wants to believe that change is afoot. To quote him, he says, "I see that we are shifting gears from confrontation to transparency and cooperation, and I call on Iran to be as transparent as possible." Clearly, he doesn't believe you've been transparent in the past. The question is, are you prepared to be fully transparent in the future?
Well, the answer, in fact, one of the questions he mentioned, I was with him, in fact, during the press conference in Tehran. He was talking overall the situation. He was, in fact, addressing to the others that they should change from confrontation to cooperation. That is why they said the stage that we are now is changing the gear. As far as the work and our work vis-a-vis the IAEA is concerned, we are in manner, and they better not to interfere and let us do the work. That is why whatever we are doing with the IAEA is nothing to do with the 5+1 or 6 countries plus
hang on.
negotiation.
Yeah, let's take one thing at a time. We don't want to make it too complex because it is obviously very complex. But let's start with something specific. We know, revelations the last couple of weeks, that Iran has finally come clean about a second uranium enrichment plant in Qum, or in the mountains near Qum. Now, would you acknowledge to me, in the spirit of full transparency, that it was a mistake for your government not to reveal the existence of this plant designed to enrich uranium for more than 3 years since construction first began?
First of all, I 100% with due respect disagree with you. Because, in fact, first of all, we don't have any legal obligation to inform about our nuclear installations before 6 months prior to, in fact, introducing nuclear material. And therefore, we have been following not only our obligation, even we have done it sooner. And this is a sign of cooperation and transparency. And in fact, informing and, as I said in my letter to Director General, informing him about this one well in advance of our obligation and in advance of the meeting in Geneva.
Why on earth, when Iran already has a very expensive uranium enrichment facility at Natanz, which we now know is steadily upping its capacity to produce enriched uranium, why on earth do you need to build a second and indeed secret for so long facility at Qum?
I agree with you. Your first question, I think this is a very legitimate question. The answer is very simple. The answer is we have been continuously threatened our nuclear installation by military attacks or threat of attacks by the Zionist regime of Israel, and also during the Bush administration, what continuous threat, and this is therefore, in fact, unjustified for any country to just ignore this kind of threats. Therefore, we had to have a contingency plan that in order to have sustained enrichment program. And that is the main reason, and that is the reason the location and all this, it was for precaution for any arm attack.
Therefore, interesting that yeah, sorry to interrupt, but you've just said something fascinating. You couch the need for Qum in terms of in terms of confrontation. Let me just put to you the words of Jacqueline Shire, who's an analyst at the U.S. Institute for Science and International Security, an expert on nuclear programs. She says, in terms of a commercially viable, commercial-scale enrichment facility, it makes absolutely no sense from either a technical or an economic point of view to have a small facility in a mountain with just 3,000 centrifuges in it. Her technical conclusion is this, that plainly that Kun site is tied to the need to enrich uranium for a specific military program.
I categorically reject this because perhaps she is not profoundly following the news or knowledgeable. We have said that this is a complementary to Natanz enrichment program, and we have the whole program is aimed at less than 5%, and that this is in fact complementary to the Natanz enrichment. Therefore, everybody knows, also all the scientists, that the 5% enrichment plan can not and will not and shall not be aimed at for high enriched uranium required for nuclear weapons.
Well, okay, let me stop you there. If that is the case, hang on. If that is the case, well, sorry to interrupt, but if that
just create a problem.
All right, but if that is the case, what you've just told me, why did Mohammad Mohammadi Golpayegani, the chief of staff to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, why did he say to the Fars news agency recently that the COM plant was an indication, his words, that Iran is at the summit of power? This new plant, he said, will soon become operational and will make the enemies blind. What did he mean by that?
Well, the matter is very simple, because in many cases they have assumed that by a threat of attack, this whole enrichment technology or enrichment achievement would disappear. I've said it in many occasions.
The enemy, you say, is the United States led by President Barack Obama still the enemy?
Well, the slogans of change has created a hope for a better future. We are still waiting for those changes, and the slogans will be translated into action. And we have to say that the new momentum and the new, in fact, the window of opportunity that Iran has opened, and we have had recently the meeting in Geneva, I think that this is a test of the will of all countries concerned.
Do you think it would serve you well to stop using phrases like the enemy when you're talking about the people you're actually supposed to be negotiating with, according to al-Baradei, in a new atmosphere of cooperation?
I was interpreting and explaining what was said, and you were quoting me and tried to explain. The Iranians have been facing the hostility for the last 30 years. I said, bearing in mind that the enemies have been trying to, in fact, stop Iran to have inalienable right enshrined in the statute, they have to be cautious, they have to take measures in order to protect their sovereign right and to protect their achievement. That's what I said.
All right. As you say, Ambassador, it's an examination. You can pass an exam or you can fail an exam. And we will see over the next few days and months whether Iran passes this particular exam. One key element is going to be your announcement that you're prepared to send low-enriched uranium, you just referred to it, to Russia in the first instance, to be processed, to be further enriched and brought back to a particular scientific facility you've got back inside Iran. How much of your low-enriched uranium, and we know you've got well over 1,000 kilograms already, how much of it are you prepared to send overseas to be processed in that way?
We have announced that we have accepted, following, of course, a request on behalf of my government that I sent to Director General to reflect it to potential suppliers for thermal research reactor. Then we were informed that there is a willingness from the other side. Of course, they wanted the fuel, in fact, uranium, low-enriched uranium, to be taken and then increase the enrichment.
Ambassador, I want a simple answer, Ambassador. How much? What proportion? Give me a percentage.
I'm answering the question very carefully.
Well, never mind careful, just give me simple. What I want is a simple percentage, the proportion of your increasing stockpile of low-enriched uranium that you are prepared to send to Russia or France or wherever to be further processed.
I said that these technical matters will be discussed. We've agreed in principle that this material will be taken and for them and to, in fact, increase the enrichment. And you know that, of course, we could have